Beloveds, I greet you on this Sunday morning with love and lots of enthusiasm. Today, we get a chance to continue a topic which Reverend Kevin talked about last week. And as we look at this entire year of our theme for the year, this month, we actually are looking at the body, right? So let me just share that the theme for the year has been everyday wonder, or actually living everyday wonder, because we have a choice to live or to exist. So are you living everyday wonder? Are you living everyday wonder? And today I'm going to talk about loving this body. So my goal for today is to actually have everybody saying at the end of this, I delight in the wonder of my body and I treat it kindly. So you may not be ready to say that right now, but by the end of our time together today, I want you to consider the possibility of saying, I delight in the wonder of my body and treat it kindly. And I'm reminded of India Arie. India Arie is a contemporary artist who just has some amazing and wonderful lyrics about loving her body, about loving life, and really recognizing the divine physical manifestation of God. And she likes to say, my body is beautiful and sacred, and I'm going to celebrate it. And that would be wonderful for all of us to, by the end of my talk, or maybe even now, and this is just confirmation for you, to be able to go like, yeah, I delight in my body and my body is sacred and I'm going to celebrate it. And many of us, depending on the stage of our existence, of our life flow, may or may not be able to say that in this moment. And I want to recognize that whether we consider ourselves young or sage, meaning that we have lived, into our 30, the third decade, the fourth decade, the fifth decade, the sixth decade, the seventh decade, the eighth decade. And I know many of us know that we have some folks in our community that are joyfully in their ninth decade of life, of having this physical body, that depending on the stages, when in our second decade, if we can remember back to our first decade, the first 10 years of our lives, we were young and ripping and running, and maybe some of us experienced illness in the body. So many of us who have grown up here in the United States of America have grown up with television, have grown up with social media, with the bombardment of what it's like to have a body, or what your body should look like. And I laugh because, lately, my thing around the word should is actually a denial of that which is real. When we say should, like you should have known better, you should have done this, you shouldn't have done that, you're actually in denial of the reality of what is right now. Should is wishing that something would be different than what it is in this current moment. And it is such a waste of time. Shouldn't be in our vocabulary. Okay, I crack myself up a little bit sometimes. And, when I look at social media, when I look at ads, when I look at the world at large, everybody is always sharing what our bodies should look like, what we should be doing or shouldn't be doing, what we should be eating or shouldn't be eating. And I'd say, stop shitting on ourselves, right? that we need to stop looking on the outside for the direction about our own bodies. Here's what I know, and here's what I want to share. And that is that you are not only a spiritual being, you are a physical being. Your body is the unique, unrepeatable, magnificent way that God is showing up in the physical, and that your body is actually the body of God. Your body is the body of God. My body is the body of God. And it is the physical manifestation of this idea in the mind of God. My body, your body is the way that God is expressing itself in human form. The problem is that sometimes we forget that we are uniquely spirit body, and that this beautiful combination causes lots of duality. And in our living, we think that we're only our body. So, in other words, there are times when I forget the spiritual truth about myself. There are times when I forget that I am spirit and body and consciousness, that I am consciousness in this particular package. And I think that I am my age or my race or my socioeconomic class, or I think I'm my gender or my expression. And I forget that I am the unique and unrepeatable way which God shows up. And to the degree that I remember that, to the degree in which I remember that this is the body of God, then I can stop beating myself up. I can stop talking about myself being stupid or being too fat, too skinny, too short, too tall, too white, too black, too brown, too thick, too thin. Oh, my body aches. I'm too old. I'm too young. All of those things that we tell ourselves, you're actually, oh, by the way, talking about the body of God. So, what is the message that you're saying and that you're saying about God? Because how you talk about yourself and your body is what you're believing about God itself. Now, when I say God itself, I'm not talking about some deity up in the sky, in the ethers that we cannot reach. I'm talking about the infinite intelligence, the consciousness, the creative intelligence that created everything out of itself. And so when you talk about your body as being a piece of crap or not being good enough, or, oh, I'm only human and this physical body is just so fallible and so this and so that or so the other thing, you're actually saying, God, you're a piece of crap. God, you're just, a pain in the neck. Oh, God, look at your pimples and look at your scars and look at how fat you are, God, and look at how skinny or look at how ugly you are. This is exactly what we're saying. I know it's a little bit harsh, but I've been on vacation. And so I've had a long time to think about this. And the bottom line is that when I come and I speak, I want to speak something that is powerful and something that just kind of afflicts the comfortable and comforts the afflicted. We can no longer just simply, like cruise on by like everything is okay, when we're really talking about ourselves and the body of God as if it's not whole, perfect, and complete. Now, mind you, we have been hoodwinked. We have been bamboozled. We have been hypnotized by the world to think that at a particular age we have arrived, or we need to be the beauty queen or king or royalty, and that, our bodies, our shapes need to be a particular way in order to be successful. And I'm just here to say that's not true. That your body, the body that God has chosen in which to incarnate itself, to live and have its being and to have its awakening as you, is whole, perfect, and complete. Aches, pains, warts, divots, and all. That what about all of that is not perfect? What about it? We have fallen into the propaganda that, if your hair is straight, it needs to be curly. If it's curly, it needs to be straight. If your hair is gray, that it needs to have some color. That if you're heavy set, that you need to lose weight, or, all of that. We have fallen into the propaganda of capitalism that has provided, these pills and potions and makeup and all of these things that tell you and continuously tell you over and over again that in order to get the girl, in order to get in order to get such and such, you need to smoke this kind of cigarette, you need to drive this kind of car, you need to look this particular way, wear this particular suit, have your hair be in a particular way. And again, we allow ourselves to be captivated and to be hypnotized by a world that is lying to us about who we really are. And the only way to recognize the truth of who we really are is through our own spiritual practice and through an attitude of gratitude and recognizing that our body temple, that this body is the body of God. This body temple not only is the body of God, but it is God. That it is the unique, unrepeatable way that this power and this presence has decided and chosen to express itself and experience humanity. And wow, if we get an opportunity to live and to experience life, whether we experience it with what we call healthy or unhealthy body temples, it is still the unique, unrepeatable way that God is showing up in human form. And that at each and every moment, you have an opportunity to choose the smile or the frown, but it is your decision. And so how do we age gracefully? How do we actually take maybe some of these aches, these pains, these experiences that we have in this human body and still recognize that this is God? That my hands, these are the hands of God. What do I do with these hands? Do I use them to hurt and harm people, or do I use them to help people? Do I use them to write about the beauties, or do I use it to write and discriminate and to judge? How do I use my body temple to continue to glorify this power and this presence that is my very life? And some of us are experiencing pain in the body temple. I was just visiting with my folks, and my dad is also in his 90s and has completed his 9th decade, right? Of living, and he's now in that going towards 100 because he's 91. My mom also in her late 80s, experiencing some dementia, experiencing some body aches, experiencing that aging process. And what we have learned here, especially in the US, is really to be at odds with our body and our body temple, not to love it, not to like it, to be complaining, oh, this is not right. Oh. Where in fact, at any point in time, it's never too soon to start and it's never too late to start. In this moment, we can begin to appreciate our body temple just as it shows up. And that by having an attitude of gratitude, that things begin to shift and change, that we no longer have to just call it a truce. but that we can actually thrive and that we have the wherewithal to actually heal the mental twist that has taught us to be at odds with our body. I know for me, to be, to be perfectly out, for me, I can no longer control and enjoy my drinking. My body temple, when I put any alcohol or any substances in my body temple does not react like other people. It creates a phenomenon within itself, and the next thing you know, I'm off and running, and am not the best human being on the planet when I'm, under the influence of alcohol. What I get an opportunity to do is recognize that about my body and go, wow, here's how God is expressing as me. And for this particular body temple, God as me does not need any alcohol because it is not productive for me. I don't enjoy my life when I'm under the influence of alcohol. I have an allergy. I could be mad and be like, dang, I can't drink with the rest of y'all. And I could be fighting against it or trying to, cure it. Or I can kind of go, hey, God has me. This is how my body temple is. I get to learn that about myself. I get to appreciate and love that about myself. Those body aches like my parents are experiencing, or even in our mental capacity, the forgetfulness or the joint pains and things of that nature. Oh, so this is what it's like to be this age. Oh, so this is what it's like to experience this at this particular time in my evolution, in my continued growth and unfoldment. I don't have to continue to curse my body and be like, you're a piece of crap. Look at 40, at 50, you can't even, walk up and down. Or what we can do is move into that attitude of gratitude and recognize that this is the body temple of God. This body is the way God is expressing. And so being in acceptance of that, being able to thank my body, as Angelica took us through that meditation, to thank my fingers, my joints, to thank my capacity to think, to thank, this skin, this epidermis, right? For protecting me from the elements, right? The opportunity to have my 5 senses, to be able to smell and to hear and to taste. Like, spirit would love to have any old kind of body, right? There's a story of how the spirits or the angel realm is so jealous of the human experience because we get to traverse this plane in a body temple that spirits, right, would love to embody, to have a body in which to experience this 3-dimensional form. And yet here we are in this 3-dimensional form with the body of God, not being grateful, not being thankful that our nails grow, that our hair grows, or that it doesn't grow. To be able to be in acceptance and to recognize that this body temple is the body of God. So what we get to release right now is we get to release this idea of separation. I get to release that my body is separate from God. A lot of times, some of the misinterpretations of the Bible, about the flesh and the sins of the flesh and all of that. This is the unique way that God itself, that consciousness, is experiencing this 3-dimensional form. This your body, my body, is the beautiful way that God is experiencing itself in human form. And so loving it, loving the body temple, caring for the body temple. You know, there are people like Alicia Keys, India Arie, Lizzo, you know, who are breaking the stereotypes of, you know, the Barbie doll look, you know, or the Ken doll look, you know. And that is such an antiquated, outdated, unrealistic idea of humanity. And, you know, there are people in the forefront who are talking about radical self-acceptance and radical self-love and, you know, loving the body temple and caring for it in such a way. I'm thinking right now of, you know, how we just disregard the body and how what it means to be a spiritual person means to really recognize that we are mind, body, spirit, right? That we are mind, body, spirit, that we are consciousness, that we are body, that we are spirit, that all of it makes up who I am. All of it makes up who you are. And to begin to engage in spiritual practice. So how do I begin to practice self-love? So first of all, I get to do a body scan, very similar to what Angie did for us today. And from the tip of my head to the toes, the bottoms of my feet, that to begin to scan and just love every part of my body, however it shows up. The slant in my eyes, the width of my nose, the thickness of my lips, the color of my skin, the width of the hips and the waist. And if you have love handles, then love those handles. Okay? That's why they're called love handles. Love those handles. You know, those feet that have trudged and walked and gotten hurt and that have helped us to move along, right? All of our body parts, whether they call them private or public, you know, standing before a mirror and just looking just about not even 2 feet where you can actually see yourself, whether it's your head, whether it's your full body, and just kind of going, oh, look at a new mole right there. Wow, like when did you get there? And wow, what are you here to say to me? And oh, look, a new little wrinkle when I smile. What if we could actually begin to accept ourselves and to love ourselves in such a deep and profound way that we were no longer enemies with our bodies, but that in fact we loved our bodies? That we loved our bodies, because to love our body is to love God. To love our body is to love God itself. And so we begin to do that through that physical looking. We begin to do that in our meditation, like Angie brought us to today. We begin to do that in our prayer work. In other words, if you're not loving your body right now, then have that be part of your treatment work. There's one power, one presence, one life. That life is God. That life is perfect. That life is whole. That life created everything out of itself. Therefore, my life and my body temple is the life of God. Therefore, my body temple is whole, perfect, and complete, because that is the truth of God. And if that's the truth of God, then that's the truth of me. And that means that this body temple is whole, perfect, and complete. So in this moment, I'm simply calling forth a love and an appreciation and an endearment. And right now, I hug and hold my body in high esteem. I give it clean water. I bathe it. I take care of it. I exercise when I need to. I stretch when I need to. I give myself powerful messages and remind myself of the truth of who I am, that my body temple is the unique and perfect way that God shows up as human. Like that, beloveds, having that be our prayer work. And so I accept that for myself. I accept that for each and every person. And I release this word into the activity of the law, and I let it be so. And that becomes part of our prayer work, that simple prayer that took not even 2 minutes, that we begin to have that be part of who we are and how we show up. That we stop judging others. That we stop, in fact, looking at other people with judgment about their body, about, oh, look, right? That we go, look at God. Look at how God expresses. Last week, I think it was mentioned that, in a bouquet of flowers, no two flowers are ever the same. And yet we don't curse one flower over another. We kind of go, wow, look at the way this flower is expressing. You, beloved, are that flower. You are not separate from consciousness. Your body is consciousness in physical form. You are the body of God. And so to the degree in which we remember that, in which we support one another in knowing that, to the degree in which we practice appreciating our body and appreciating the bodies of other people, it's to that degree that we recognize that all life is beautiful, that all life is sacred. I want to close with just sharing what Ernest Holmes, well, actually not even Ernest Holmes, it's from the book of the month. Concepts like self-acceptance and body neutrality are not without value. When you have spent your entire life at war with your body, these models offer a truce. But you can have more than a ceasefire. You can have radical self-love because you already are radical self-love. And that comes from The Body is Not an Apology by Sonia Renee Taylor, which is the book of the month. And so I want to just remind us at this point in time that I delight in the wonder of my body, and I treat my body kindly. I delight in the wonder of my body, and I treat it kindly. And if you like the one by India Irie even more, my body is beautiful and sacred, and I'm going to celebrate it. And so I invite us all to celebrate our bodies even now. So let's move into prayer. How grateful I am in this moment to recognize the one power, one presence, one life that is God, that has created everything out of itself, that is whole, perfect, and complete, and recognizing that I am the body of God, that mind, body, spirit, that consciousness, and even in physical form, that this particular body temple is the unique, unrepeatable, magnificent, powerful, joyous way that God shows up in human form. And so I give thanks for my body temple. I give thanks for every organ, every function, every action, the way the cells duplicate. I give thanks for every noise that my body makes, for the way it digests its food, the way it assimilates it, the way it digests it. I give thanks that my blood circulates through my body temple, and that oxygen fills my lungs, and that I give out carbon dioxide, and that the plants take that carbon dioxide, and they in turn are in harmony with my body and give me oxygen. I am grateful for the way this body temple is taking me through this human experience as I am this conscious being. I love that there's no separation. Nothing, that this body is the body of God. So I treat it as such. I delight in it. I care for it. And I practice radical self-love. I practice radical self-care. And I practice loving this body temple and loving all body temples. So because I already know the abundance of this spiritual community, the peace, the joy, the health, the wholeness of this spiritual community, I give thanks that answered prayer is a thing. And that in each and every household that is represented online, on Zoom, on YouTube, Woo! I adore my body temple, and I'm simply knowing that the abundance is real and that it keeps on flowing. I'm knowing that the abundance of health and wholeness. I'm simply knowing that peace and that love, that joy, that those experiences that we get to experience in and as our body, that they are beautiful and precious, and that we love the color of our skin, our ethnicity, our race, our age, the way our body looks, that we appreciate whatever hair is on our bodies, that we simply love our body temples, and we know that it is the unique, unrepeatable, powerful, badass way that God shows up in human form. So for this and so much more, I give thanks. Letting it be so, I simply say, and now it is, and so it is, and it shall be. Amen. Thank you, beloveds, for being here today. Thank you for showing up as you. Thank you for being willing to love your body temple, and for you being willing to recognize that it is the body of God. It is the body of God. And so I look forward to seeing us all here again, same bat time, same bat channel next week.